It used to be when you and I were kids, everybody got measles. And the measles gave you lifetime protection against measles infection. The vaccine doesn't do that. The vaccine is effective for some people for life, but many people it won't.
I need to disrupt this immediately, all right? What you should be doing is not listening to the strange, weird man who wants to shove beef tallow down your throats and listen to scientists on this matter. Measles vaccine, like the polio vaccine, are incredibly effective. They are miracles.
All right, so the movement to make America healthy again is underway, led by Secretary of Health and Human Services Robert F. Kennedy Jr. earlier over the weekend. Today he met with leaders of America's largest food companies, which might have been a little bit awkward considering Secretary Kennedy is encouraging them, has been outspoken in terms of highly processed foods and ingredients that are allowed in them. Some companies are already taking steps on their own to move towards healthier options. Now, if you haven't been to Steak and Shake, you got to go. I had two double burgers, and they were phenomenal. Their fries were phenomenal. Now, they recently announced that they will be...
See, this is wild. I'm hearing so many different things at once here. So on one end, highly processed foods are bad for you, apparently. And RFK Jr. is going to stick it to them. He's fine, which, again, this sounds great. I wish more people knew about this. It's true. Highly processed foods are bad for you. But apparently, you can RFK your fast food, and then it's better. And then you can just straight up do ads for make no mistake, this is an ad. You're watching an ad, a commercial. It's embedded within the actual segment itself for this thing called Steak and Shake, which sounds amazing. Don't get me wrong. All my fucking addicted ass dopamine signals and receptors are going off right now. Wait, are you saying I can have steaks and shakes? Like milkshakes and steaks, full-size steaks. How many ounces are we talking? God damn, that sounds good. But yes, please tell me about how they've RFK'd their fries, the healthier cooking methods. So instead of using, what is that? They were using grapeseed oil before, but they've switched to tallow. Oh, ooh, neat. Tell me about this. So that makes it healthier if it's just, loaded with trans fats? Oh, because it comes from the animal. So if it comes from animal fat, it's good for you. But if it comes from seed oils, it's bad for you? I'm not entirely, because I guess the science up until now has kind of been telling us the opposite, that we shouldn't be actually cooking things, just unbelievable amounts of just, animal grease. It's tasty. Oh man, is it tasty. Delicious. Yeah, don't get me wrong. But not exactly what I would consider healthy.
Frying their French fries in beef tallow rather than seed oils. So I caught up with the secretary at one of the Florida locations of Steak and Shake for a wide-ranging...
This is the most American thing I've ever seen in my life. And the fact that it's being sold to you as healthy. I'm sorry, but this is insane. This is the fall of Rome. You are seeing it before your very eyes. It's just like, all right, we're bringing on our new health secretary, who's apparently going to be making America healthy again, and he is sticking it to all of these massive corporations, all right, the ones that apparently are mass manufacturing our food, processing your foods. He's going to make them healthier again, and guess who is standing by and agreeing with him? This delicious and apparently healthy, this is health food now, Steak and Shake. So a place called Steak and Shake, which I went to, absolutely delicious, got myself 2 double burgers. Hell yeah. I mean, ooh, you can really feel the heart palpitations after you've had a couple of those. So delicious, amazing, and apparently he's gotten them to healthify, TM, this is a trademarked process, their fries, no longer using seed oils, which apparently are bad for you, but now deep frying everything in tallow, which I'm told is some kind of miracle. Tell us more.
Interview. Let's play part 1. Thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate it. Before you got here, I already had a burger, so I'm having another. I'm breaking my diet. I am pretty much full on keto. I eat basically meat and eggs. I made an exception today.
Nothing but bacon.
I had it on a bun, and I really enjoyed it actually, and it was really good. Explain the difference between seed oil and tallow, and why this is a big deal. Why they said we are going to RFK Steak and Shake.
Processed foods and seed oil is one of the components of processed foods. And that is, all the science indicates that ultra processed foods are what are the principal culprit in this extraordinary explosion, the epidemic we have of chronic disease.
That's wild. He explains it pretty simply. If you didn't know this, when you process foods, what you're essentially doing is you are processing them, as in they are manufacturing for you the food. So instead of just simply buying the raw ingredients, as you would if you went to a supermarket, where you went to go buy, say, tomatoes, salt, basil for those who pronounce it like that, garlic, and then you mix that all together to make a tomato sauce for a pasta or something like that. Well, then you yourself have processed it. But when you buy the processed foods, well, they're throwing things in there, and then through that process, they are making it unhealthy. So if we isolate one of the things that is inside the processed foods, in this case, seed oils, and we take out the seed oil, we've then made it healthy. And then if you take that seed oil and you replace it with something even more delicious, like tallow, suddenly it's become infinitely more healthy. It's become RFK'd in the process. So now you get it.
When my uncle was president, 3% of Americans had chronic disease. Today, 60% do.
Oh.
We have 66% of adults are diabetic or pre-diabetic, 38% of teens. When you and I were kids, Sean, the average pediatrician would see one case of juvenile diabetes in his lifetime over a 40 or 50-year career. Today, 1 out of every 3 kids who walks through his office door is diabetic or pre-diabetic. Diabetes and other mitochondrial diseases are now costing America more than our military budget.
You know why this is just so wild to see? Like something you see out of some weird, grotesque, I don't know, a horror film from the 60s, is that he is saying all of this inside of a fast food restaurant called Steak and Shakes, trying to tell you about how he has made Steak and Shakes healthier for the American people by removing seed oils, because seed oils happen to be one ingredient in some processed foods. Thereby, ergo, vis-a-vis, if you take out the seed oils, suddenly the thing is healthy. And hey, for whatever reason, if you're hate watching me, I don't know if there's a lot of people in either chats who are just like, Lance has no idea what he's talking about. RFK Jr. is the symbol of health. Look how healthy the man is. I'll just here's the reality of this. It is true, 100% true. Processed foods are bad for you. But the reason they are bad for you is because a lot of the things that they process them with are highly addictive. And there are a lot of things that they put in there as well to make them stay on the shelf for a long time. Preservatives, if you will. Some of these preservatives are chemicals that can be very bad for your body. Oftentimes, processed foods are filled with 3 things: sugars, fats, and salts. Sugars, fats, and salts are very addictive. It's the reason why it makes them taste so yummy yum. But the reason it tastes so yummy yum is because we as human beings, we're animals, we've evolved to try and seek out things that we find that are rare in nature, and when we find them, we get a lot of rewards for them. So our brains suddenly give us all that delicious dopamine. And so that's why when you have the fats, the sugars, the salts, you're like, ooh, wow, yum, I love that. What he is actually proposing, though, to simply isolate one thing, one ingredient, and say, okay, so if I get rid of this, it's totally fine for you to have burgers, fries, and steaks and all that shit. No, those things are still unhealthy, and those things can still hurt you. Now, is there a healthy way to eat fries? Unfortunately, the act of deep frying food, it doesn't matter if it's with seed oils or with tallows, it's the fats thing that I was telling you about. It's an unhealthy process. You are submerging food in oil. And I'm telling you this not as someone who's trying to come down on you for this. I love deep fried shit. It is my jam. I am not a gambler. I don't have those kind of vices, but oh man, do I love deep fried foods. So I can tell you first and foremost, as someone who used to be a very chubby kid in high school, yes, I do love food that is very, very bad for you. But luckily, I learned, and the truth is that deep frying foods is not healthy. Also, just potatoes on their own, just deep frying potatoes. There are healthier things that you can have, such as foods like sweet potatoes, for example. They're a little bit healthier than regular potatoes. They have a lower glycemic index, and you can actually, roast potatoes. You can mash potatoes. You can boil potatoes. And if you must have the crunch, you can air fry potatoes. We even have the technology to air fry potatoes. And if you use less oil, it's going to be less bad for you. But honestly, what you should be doing is if you want to be healthier, and this is overall, you should eat healthier. It's the first step of this. A lot of modern medicine is based on, after you've gotten sick, after your liver is damaged, after your kidneys are damaged, or after your body body is damaged, then we look at ways to, how can we help lower your blood pressure with pills? How can we help, maybe give you a transplant if you need it, that kind of stuff. Whereas you should be doing preventative stuff, such as eating better. And eating better does mean eating less processed foods, not going to Steak and Shakes. I'm talking about buying the raw ingredients, learning how to cook. It's cheaper. It's healthier. It will require more time. That part is true. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of things that you can buy that are a lot cheaper, such as fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, legumes. You can buy things like this in volume a lot cheaper than you can, say, if you buy processed foods, which are ultimately going to be more expensive. I know that if you have a double shift or you have a hard day at work, it's really hard to tell someone, hey, and now you got to cook for your family. Enjoy the next hour and a half of your day in going shopping for ingredients, buying all this stuff, getting home, and then trying to make a delicious meal for a giant family that's screaming at you at the time, when it's a lot easier to just give them exactly what their bodies are looking for their fix, which is like some fucking, $20.99 combo family dinner at Little Caesars, and all of a sudden I've got food for everybody. I just throw it down, it's done, they eat, they're happy, they all run off, and then it's strange that they're all getting sicker every single time that we keep feeding them this garbage because it's highly processed, including Steak and Shakes, including all of these places, right? But in the long term, if you want to be healthier, and if you don't want to go to the hospital for a whole bunch of chronic diseases, everything from, yes, type 2 diabetes to heart problems to obesity to hyperobesity, exercise is one aspect of it, but food is such an important thing. What you put into your body is actually going to help improve everything from your skin to your energy levels to even your happiness. And a lot of this stuff, it's a spiral. I know that because I used to be addicted to a lot of fast foods, where at the end of the day, you feel unhealthy, you feel unmotivated, and then the only thing that really makes you want to do anything is like, I just want my burger and fries, and then you get that, and then you're like, oh, I get 5 minutes of happiness, and then I get my little dopamine, and you're like, and then you go right back to like this, because it's just perpetually making you sicker and slothier, and that's why I think a lot of people get excited at the start of when RFK talks, because they're like, it sounds like he's about to actually hold these companies to account. These major manufacturers of food, there's about 11 companies in the United States that make all of your food. They should be reined in. They shouldn't put as much sugar, as much fat, as much salt into their products as they do. You can make those same products, but you can make them healthier for everybody and less addictive and less terrible for you, but they don't. There's absolutely no reason for them to do that, as long as there's not any oversight. If anything, they occasionally get a slap on the wrist in the form of, you got to put a label on there. This product is very unhealthy for you. No one gives a fuck. They're just still going to buy them. They're still going to buy the Cheetos. They're still going to buy the fucking cans of Chef Boyardee, all that kind of stuff. But that's it. That's as far as we're going to go for regulation. We're not going to stop your freedom. You have the freedom to put as much sugar, as much fat, as much salt as you want into those cans, but there's going to be a little thing at the very top that says this product could cause birth defects. That's it. And then if you're like, well, I'm not going to give birth anytime soon, I don't give, give me the can, then yeah, sure, that's as far as it goes. But now what we have is this disaster where we have someone who is, again, pretending to care about this issue at the front, and then also selling you on the idea that he has made fast food healthy, Steak and Shakes healthy, by switching from seed oil to tallow.
We spend 2 to 3 times on healthcare what other countries do, and we have the worst outcomes. And we have the best medical system in the world. We are poisoning ourselves. And
he's saying this
and
at Steak and Shakes.
It's coming from, principally these ultra-processed foods. And what we're trying to do, and this President Trump wants us to have radical transparency and to incentivize companies like this one to switch to traditional ingredients like beef tallow.
Oh, by the way, here you go.
If you want to just take the red basket, I'll take those trays back for you. Okay?
Oh,
So
okay.
it's not
Is
yours.
that?
This is you, Sean.
Oh, this is me. Okay, thank you.
And Secretary.
And here's the other thing. Beef tallow, deep frying in beef tallow, is fucking delicious. All right, I'm sorry. It's really, really yum, yum, yum. So now if you have RFK Jr. telling America, hey, by the way, I want to make you healthier. And everyone's like, thank you. Thank you. We have an obesity crisis. We have a diabetes crisis. We have a health crisis. Tons of people have heart disease. Tons of people like, yes, help us. Someone has to do this. Make America healthy again. He's like, I will. And you could be healthy too. If you come on down to Steak and Shakes, you can get the RFK Jr. special. All right. We've RFK Jr. the fries. They're no longer cooked in seed oils, so none of those pesky seed oils are going to hurt you. They're delicious. They're cooked in beef tallow. Yeah, straight from the beef that I myself harvest. It's like, that's still really bad for you. This is still going to be super high in calories, super high in fat, super high in salt the fries afterwards. You're most likely going to dip them in ketchup. The ketchup is super high in sugar. If you're like, well, the fries don't have sugar in them at least, so I'm avoiding the sugar. Well, until you dip them into the ketchup. Ketchup is just basically liquid sugar and tomatoes. That's what ketchup is. So boom, you got the ketchup there. Everything else is going to be really bad for you as well. This entire meal is probably going to be about, 2,000 calories around there. It's not healthy food. This is very, very bad food for you, but it's going to be delicious. And it's dangerous now to tell everyone, I recognize that there's a problem and I'm going to exacerbate that problem. But actually, sorry, I'm not going to exacerbate it. I'm going to RFK Jr. it. I'm going to save you, America. And please, for the love of fuck, if you happen to be someone who's listening to me and you want to be healthier, just know that this is not the way. And now, if you are an American, things are really scary. You are going to have less access to healthcare. You are going to have more people with diseases. More people with fucking measles are going to be taking up your hospital beds than ever before. So the need to do preventative medicine is very high. Like, mask up, eat well, buy healthier foods, start exercising, doing all that kind of shit. So you have to worry less about going to the hospital. Because goddamn, no one is coming to save you. Certainly not RFK Jr. All right? I want all of you to live longer, healthier lives.
This is for you. All right, gentlemen. Enjoy.
Thank you. You didn't forget my Coke, did you?
Get your Coke. I got you, buddy.
The small with the little ice. But I'm not going to drink it all because he's going to yell at me. I'm only kidding.
And Steak and Shake just switched out, and people are raving about these French fries. You taste them.
They're
I taste
amazing.
them.
They really are. I'm not. This is not.
When I was a kid and I travel in Europe, Europe is great, always had great food. The French fries were always a disappointment because we had the best French fries here. They had pommes frites over there and they just didn't taste right. Today, the best French fries in the world are in Europe. I order them every time I go to Belgium or France or any place else. And the French fries here just don't taste right. And you taste these, it's a completely different experience and the customers are raving about it.
This is a commercial. You're watching a commercial. It doesn't feel like one because they're going to go to commercial break and show you commercials. Maybe for Steak and Shakes. I don't know what the commercials that played in Fox News when that's what this all is. But it's being sold to you as a health revolution.
Company Steak and Shake has been great. We're very grateful for them for RFKing the French fries. They turned me into a verb. But also Popeyes.
By the way, a plastic straw. Thank you. Thank God. I can't stand those paper straws. I hate them.
You hate the sea turtles, right?
He used to be an environmentalist. Now he's just pushing steaks and milkshakes on an already very sick culture. It's so wild to see.
Popeyes,
For fascism.
Outback, Sweet Greens, Buffalo Wild
Wings.
Yeah, they've all made the switch, or they're in the transition of making the switch.
Whoa,
We want
so
to do
much
everything
tallow.
that we can to incentivize these companies to be transparent, to switch over from ultra-processed food, and to be part of this movement to make America healthy again.
As Health and Human Services Secretary, and there is.
By the way, I hate to do the "I told you so," but I fucking told you so to there was a handful of leftists who were like, look, I understand that a lot of the things that the right they're doing right now are frightening, but at the end of the day, RFK Jr. is kind of an exception because he's talking about actually holding a lot of these big companies accountable, especially when it comes to the way that they are manufacturing processed foods. That could be a good thing. That could be a net good thing if he actually, I was like, he's not going to hold those companies accountable. Are you fucking serious? You think he's going to go after the fucking 11 massive monster corporations that produce all of America's food and actually like suddenly rein them in? He's not. You're going to see some weird sick ass shit where he's going to pretend like some sleight of hand that he's made America healthy again. And I didn't predict this. I didn't think that it was going to be something as grotesquely obvious as this, where it's just like, so what I've done is I've saved you all. I have cured America and its health problems. How, sir? I switched out from the seed oils that you were using to deep fry your foods before to tallow, beef tallow, in fact. It'll make them taste better and it'll actually cure every disease known to man. And it's like, I gotta respect the game at this point, you know? Because I would not have assumed this would work. I assumed someone would be like, but sir, Isn't beef tallow also very unhealthy to deep fry food in? Is not just the act of throwing food into a vat of steaming oil going to be bad for us, sir? Are burgers and fries simply just not a very healthy way to eat? You know, I don't know who that kid is, but I've got to put him down.
There is great paranoia and fear. You're going to force people.
I know it's probably the sounds of like the deep fryer machine, but it does sound like a hospital room every now and then. It sounds like someone is flatlining.
Take things away from people. You're going to force companies to do what, you know, this Steak and Shake is freely decided to do. That's not the case.
Oh, I mean, I'm a libertarian outlook. People should be able to make their own choices. If you want to eat a donut or seed oils, you should be able to. You shouldn't.
So you're doing nothing just outside of an ad for both yourself and Steak and Shake. Great.
Be able to exercise informed choice. You should know what that product is, what's in your food, and what the health impacts are. And that's all we're going to do.
Yeah.
We're going to incentivize people to. We're going to incentivize companies to be transparent.
I love how they keep saying breaking news.
And we're going to inform Americans about what's making them sick. Nobody wants to be sick.
I don't want to be sick. Why is...
I don't want to be sick. By the way, I just had 2 double doubles. That shit was fucking bomb. That was real good. I'm going to order another one right now for the segment. Yeah, because this is health food apparently, right? Because of the tallow? Cool.
Okay, beef tallow, seed oil, but then there are other healthy oils. Like, for example, avocado oil is considered healthy, or olive oil.
Or butter.
Butter, straight
olive oil, right.
But
So are certain seed oils. In what world did we suddenly believe that seed... I think what they meant to like go after is hydrolyzed oil, which yes, I will completely get on board with. Yes, hydrolyzed oil is unhealthy, but just raw seed oils, like grapeseed oil, is not an unhealthy oil. In fact, it's one of the optimal oils to deep fry with.
my daughter, who's like you, she went into my house a couple of years ago, and she
or butter, because he's saying butter as in butter is healthy in relation to hydrolyzed oils, which is what you make margarine out of. And technically, yes, butter would be healthier of the two, but just eating butter or adding butter to food is just not in and of itself healthy. But it's incredibly high in fat, and usually, if it's added, incredibly high in salt as well. Again, you want to reduce the amount of fats, salts, and sugars that you consume. You want to try and have as much, fruits, vegetables, healthy forms of starch, brown rice as opposed to white rice. And I get that all that is hard because it's just not as tasty. You know, if you want to be like, hey, there's this incredible multi-grain bread that has all these ancient grains in it and quinoa and stuff like that, and it's a little bit more expensive, and it does taste like dirt, but apparently it's better for you. Versus, hey, by the way, have you tasted the In-N-Out burger buns, those sweet buns where they put all that sweet sugar in it and it's all doughy, kind of almost like a donut? Holy shit, a donut. Should I not just use donuts as bread? Why don't we do that? Or waffles? What if there was a burger, but you put the burger in between waffles, in between a fucking donut? And then obviously, yeah, well, that sounds way better, but that doesn't make it healthier for you.
Like wiped out the Smart Balance, wiped out the margarine, wiped out any seed oil.
Good for her.
And she cleaned out my whole pantry, and she bought me the things that she said, Daddy, this is much better because I like to cook.
And she wants you to live for a long time.
I want to live for a long
healthy.
time.
Me too.
That's why I watch my weight. I watch what I eat. I try to take care of myself.
You just had 2 double doubles.
Here are the numbers that really scare me, though. And 66% of adults, 38% of teens, and we'll put this up on the screen, they have pre-diabetes.
I didn't order that.
You did not order that. It looks great. I'm sure one of our guys. Would anyone like a free shake? Anyone? We got to be somebody in here. But I want to go back. You want?
What is this? What are we doing here? This is the fall of Rome. You are watching the decay of the entire American empire in real time. A Steak and Shake ad. Fucking all those useless homeless people, they're addicted. The people on SNAP programs are addicted to sugary drinks. What? I didn't order that. What? No, I ordered the double steak. More steak, please. Can I have another steak?
Okay, 80% of American adults, 50% of teens are overweight and obese. We have an obesity
This is the
epidemic
most
in this
American
country.
thing I've ever seen in my life.
77%, according to the
America.
Pentagon, Americans do not qualify for the military because of their health. 40% of our teenagers struggle with anxiety now and depression.
Which you know, there are studies coming out of Stanford and Harvard that show a lot of mental illness, including anxiety and depression, are related to food. And that changing your diet, food is medicine. By changing your diet, you can lose some of those diagnoses. And you know, this, Sean, is a uniquely American problem. This is not happening like it is here elsewhere in the world. When my uncle was president, 3% of Americans were obese.
Okay, hold on. I hear this all the time. Like, apparently, if you go to Europe, you can eat the exact same as you do in America, but you just lose weight. It's incredible. Yeah, and that's just because uniquely in America, they put this one special ingredient in their food that makes it extra bad for you. If we get rid of that one ingredient, and I found it, by the way, it turns out it was seed oil. So if you get rid of the seed oil, then everything is good for you. Just replace it with tallow, which apparently is, I don't know, from beef or something. Delicious. If you eat highly processed foods or highly deep fried foods, they're bad for you universally. Doesn't matter where you eat them. If you go to Europe, there's a lot of deep fried foods. If you go to England, holy shit, they love their fucking fish and chips. You know, they love their deep fried shit. That will lead to higher rates of obesity if you eat lots of deep fried foods. It's just not good for you, deep fried foods in general. And it's delicious. I love them. I'm not trying to judge you if you love deep fried foods, because I love deep fried foods. I get why people love deep fried foods. It's such a fucking delicious way to eat a thing, but it's really, really bad for you. There are additional preservatives that aren't legal in other parts of the world or aren't approved for mass production or consumption, like say in Canada that they are in the United States. Same thing with, like, you know, other countries like Japan. A lot of them will be you know, either banned or regulated, or they don't allow them. And in America, you know, freedom's got to reign, so they actually have a lot of other shit in a lot of their processed foods. You can avoid, again, all of that, even if you live in America, if you stop eating processed foods. If you eat foods that are already pre-made, microwave dinners, cans of soup, cans of pasta, you know, burgers in a can, fucking shit like that. If you buy the product where it's already finished and they're like, hey, by the way, pizza in a can, doesn't that sound convenient? It does. What's in it? Do not ask. You know, but the problem is, like, a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't have access to that. A lot of people don't have the free time to do the healthy cooking. A lot of people live in food deserts. A lot of people live in areas of the United States where their only access to a supermarket might be a fucking Dollarama. So yeah, the idea to have fresh fruits and produce is a little bit more difficult for sure. But, like, honestly, it doesn't matter where you live. There are high rates of obesity in parts of Canada as well. There are high rates of obesity in the UK. This is not a uniquely American problem. This is a uniquely, I would say, where there is mass production and mass consumption and mass consolidation of food under capitalism, where there's only a few amount of companies that produce it. They produce shit. The food that they mass produce is really bad for you. If you want to be healthier, if you want to lose weight, then yes, what you eat is important. And it is actually going to be cheaper to buy the raw food materials to make your own foods. It does take more time. It does take a little learning. I personally love cooking, so I think the entire process is super fun, but there's a lot of ways you can go down that route. It's healthier if you do eat vegetarian or if you eat a very strictly meat diet. I'm sorry, Sean Hannity, but them's the science. But I'm not telling you that if you want to eat meat, that necessarily you shouldn't do that. There are certain people who just don't have the ability to live off, an all vegan diet. Vegan diet TMs are very expensive. It's kind of sometimes a bougie thing to be able to be like, hey, by the way, you should be a better person. You should be eating like a vegan, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, yeah, but all the products that related to veganism, including the supplements I got to take, are very expensive and I can't afford them and I don't have the time to make all that shit. Whatever it is, you should be eating less processed foods in general and less manufactured foods, and definitely less foods from chains. If it's just an end-to-end, hey, by the way, Burger King, McDonald's, Pizza Hut, you name it, Taco Bell, Popeyes, all delicious for a reason. Fat, salt, sugars, lots of them. Lots and lots of them, and they will make you sicker and addicted to them. They are highly addictive, and you keep needing them, and then you keep spiraling into needing them more and more and more. It is harder to live in a world where that is just being thrust upon you 24/7. It's an uphill battle, right? Like, you've got a world of addictive food products that are constantly trying to push themselves on you, and then you've got weirdos like this being like, don't worry, we solved it. We got rid of seed oils. The products are good again.
As you pointed out,
all he's done here is give a pass to all of these mass manufacturing polluters of our bodies by saying, oh, I isolated the problem. and the problem was seed oil.
It's now 80, no, close to 80% of adults, 50% of children. But in Japan, it's still 3%.
Men in
Because they don't eat
Japan,
this.
correct me if I'm wrong, don't they live on average 10 years longer than men here?
Yeah, and this generation of our kids is the first generation in 200 years that is going to have a shorter lifespan than their parents.
Scary.
We are letting down these kids, and there's a moral issue here, and we need to start grappling with it because it's a moral issue.
Popeyes is so tasty. I know. Trust me. I love fried chicken. I love it so much. I love spicy fried chicken. I love spicy fried chicken then dipped into some kind of a hot sauce. I'm a weirdo like that. I'm a glutton for spice. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, yeah, that shit is real bad for you.
It's a financial issue. The healthcare costs are going to sink us. And the only way that we're going to solve it is by changing what we eat.
Okay, so the solution, by the way, is not changing it to beef tallow. But I thought he was going to talk about measles in that clip, but I got the clip here.
If you get it used to be when you and I were kids, everybody got measles. And measles gave you lifetime protection against measles infection. The vaccine doesn't do that. The vaccine is effective for some people for life, but many people, it wanes.
I need to disrupt this immediately, all right? What you should be doing is not listening to the strange, weird man who wants to shove beef tallow down your throats and listen to scientists on this matter. Measles vaccine, like the polio vaccine, are incredibly effective. They are miracles. We actually almost got rid of measles in its totality, which is an incredible, astonishing human accomplishment. One that humans should almost be super proud of. The reason why you do not see polio around anymore is that the polio vaccine, unlike the measles vaccine, was something that is only one-time dose that you need. It's the fact that the measles vaccine requires 2 doses. That just that little extra added bit mathematically makes it a little bit more difficult in terms of something in which, in order to eradicate completely. It's also something in which polio was more deadly than measles, has a higher rate of death. So there was a problem. They're looking to eradicate polio in its totality before we had completely eliminated measles as well. But we almost got rid of measles completely. There used to be a lot more people who died and a lot more kids who died from measles every year before we had a measles vaccine. We have one. It is safe. It is effective. If you are given those 2 doses when you were younger, you are going to be able to avoid seriously getting sick and dying from measles on average for the rest of your life. He is saying will get people killed. Right now, there's a problem. There are little bits of measles outbreaks because there's little small communities where a large enough percentage of the population has not gotten their children vaccinated, or they themselves have not gotten vaccinated, and they're starting to think of this the same way people think about smallpox. Smallpox is the thing where you're supposed to put the kids in the room when one of them has it and you don't tell the other kids, but then it gives it to all of them because when you get it as a kid, it's not as bad. But if you get it as an adult, it can kill you. So we give it to them as children. So we have these smallpox parties. So let's start doing that for other stuff, right? We could make the kids more immune to the thing if we just throw them into the room and make them play with each other and give each other the disease and all this kind of stuff. He is literally prescribing behavior that could result in the death of children on a very large scale. It is of the utmost importance that you tell and spread the idea, and also get your children, if you have them, or your friends' children, please let other parents know you should get them vaccinated against measles. Absolutely, you should. It is safe, effective, and we have been doing it for a very long time. If it was going to cause all the problems they talk about, like mass death, then we would have seen it, but we didn't. In fact, we saw the opposite. We saw the amount of people who died from measles just plummet down to almost 0 as we almost eradicated it in its totality, which again, incredible thing that human beings have done. The problem is not so much that, hey, by the way, fine, I'm vaccinated, my kids are vaccinated, then who cares, right? Let these weirdo RFK Jr. cultists get sick and die. That's how I'm going to talk about it, which would be great if they also weren't going to eventually use the medical system. That's where the problem comes in. See, as more and more people don't get vaccinated for these diseases, they are eventually going to get very sick. Measles can be particularly burdensome for getting sick because it can actually cause a form of amnesia for your immune system where it forgets how to defend itself against other diseases, which means that if you have it and it does that, then you might be able to not be able to prevent any kind of disease that you normally would have an immune system that would recognize and destroy in your body. So that could be very deadly. Those people will have to go to the hospital. Then you all of a sudden have more people in your hospital. It's a burden on your healthcare system. If you have a regular hospital visit or something that you needed to see the hospital for, suddenly there's no beds available because a lot of kids are just sick and dying from measles and they need immediate medical attention. The other thing is not everyone can get vaccinated. There are people who have compromised immune systems. There are people who have, a variety of different conditions that don't allow them to get the measles vaccine in the first place. So we need to protect them. Because again, we're not eugenicists. We don't believe that we're superior to them simply because they cannot get vaccinated against something. So we should all get vaccinated, do our part, do your part, the old ads, so that people who do not have the ability to get that don't have to worry about measles just existing into the general population and being spread to one another, even if you yourself are immune to it. That's the reality of it. And so when he's like, well, it's a personal choice, but we used to be immune from measles in the past simply because we're... All these weird memes that the right are pushing right now, this shit where they're like, how did human beings survive for, 100,000 years, 200,000 years? How long have we been around? Either way, how did we survive without vaccines? By dying in large numbers. That's how. The median age being like 35. By families needing to have 12 plus children because half of them would die. From, again, now preventable diseases, which is one of the reasons why they used to have these enormous families. But the answer is death. We would die. You have 10 kids, 5 kids die, and so 5 survive. They were the ones that made it, and then they go on to ideally have more kids, and so forth and such and such. So that's it. And the thing is, like, if you want to live in a world where, but it scares me, the idea of having all these vaccines and stuff like that. It's like, well, then, do you want to go back to the time when we only lived until we were around 30, 35, if you were lucky? Because of a whole bunch of diseases that could potentially kill you? I don't. And unfortunately, even if you believe in these weird conspiracy theories started by one British quack, how can one dude have so much damage upon the human race? But yeah, if you want to believe in weird conspiracy theories that vaccines cause autism, well, it sounds to me like you think autism is a bad thing and that the correlation that you've implanted in your brain is somehow scaring you. But that's not at all the reason why we have more kids now today who have autism than ever before. It's not because of vaccines. It's not because it's because we know how to diagnose it a lot better and we understand it a lot better. And we know that it's a spectrum now and we don't forcibly institutionalize people anymore for having it. That's what we used to do. When someone had any variety of things, we would call it, is it melancholy? I'm not sure. Lobotomy. What? Yeah, lobotomy. They have depression. Lobotomy. No, I think she's just in a loveless marriage and really tired of getting beat up all the time. Electrocution. Electrodes. Put electrocution into the brain space and then see if that cures the melancholy that she has. Well, could be that. Could be the abusive husband. Not totally sure. Sir, do you really want to go down this road? I mean, she might, die. Yes, but science. The science of this is sound. If she's acting unruly, unkempt, if she's not being a domestic servant to her husband and knowing her place in this world, well then, yeah, we will diagnose her with melancholy and madness. Yes, women's madness. And then lobotomy, probably. She'll be better lobotomized. Or electrocuted, one of the two. We have many way to deal with this. It's like, these children, they're not paying attention, they're not being obedient to their parents. Lock them up, and then electrocute them, and then lobotomy. Like, okay, well then, yeah, I guess I would not want to have any of that happen to me. I might not tell a doctor that I'm experiencing what I think is melancholy or depression or anxiety or maybe any of the other things that are related to a condition that we don't fully understand at the time, because I might be forcibly institutionalized. So that's a big thing, Scary stuff.
Don't let this happen to you. Go to serfscoffee.com to order the only end-to-end owned indigenous coffee company that delivers blood-free, conflict-free, and cruelty-free beans right to your door. 0% of people who drink serfscoffee.com have exploded spontaneously. By ordering right now, you get 10% off plus free shipping, and it's the best way to enjoy delicious coffee while not exploding. That's serfscoffee.com, serfscoffee.com.
Hey, if you'd like to unlock secret bonus episodes as well as uncensored content, go to patreon.com/The Serfs. This show is produced by Anna Loves Riley, Arian McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hagbard Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Multimondi, Omni, Political Puppy, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demmel, Travis McClinton, Trincell, Words Greenwood, with additional support coming from all of these amazing human beings right here.